Good evening. Now, for many people, Saturday morning means just one thing, park run. And if you're a dog owner like myself, then maybe you're tempted, or maybe you do take your dog down to park run. And this is something that I do. I'm nearly at 100 park runs, and every single one of those has been with a dog. But just because we can doesn't mean we should. And there are many reasons why park run might not be suitable for your dog. And also, are you using the right equipment for them if you are taking them? So I'm going to dive into some of the do's and don'ts, but also some of the great benefits I've found from doing park run every week. So my name is Dr. Helene. I'm an emergency medicine doctor and a vet certified animal aromatherapy specialist and a dog behaviourist. And this show is for people who want to look after their own health and the health of their pets in an integrative way. So we talk about everything from gut health and stiff joints to itchy skin and the power of essential oils. And I use my experience in human and animal wellness to give you the natural tools you need to help you and your dog feel your best at both ends of the lead. So don't forget to subscribe. And if you can leave me a 5-star review, that would be very much appreciated. So I'm also a canicross instructor as well. And for me, one of the joys of going to park run with my dog was the fact that I could do some canicross there. And then a couple of years ago, they banned people using that kind of equipment. And there's loads of discussions around that. And for me, I stopped going to parkrun because my dogs were canicross dogs. It wasn't going to be something that was suitable for them to just run at my side. And there's lots of cons associated with that as well. But over the years, my own relationship with parkrun has evolved dramatically. I think it took me about 10 years to get to 50 parkruns, and it's probably taken me less than 2 to get to nearly 100. So I first tried parkrun in 2012 to get some running experience with my little dog Treacle, but she found the entire experience a bit too much, and so we stepped back. And then years later, I returned on and off with Evelyn, and she loved it. She absolutely loved it. We'd start at the front, we'd be straight off from the front, and she just loved it. And then when my local park run launched, I swapped over Alexandra Park in Moss Side. I swapped over to running there, and it was lovely. But Evie was older and she'd got arthritis, and it's a concrete surface. So I knew it wasn't right for her joints. So I switched to running with my boy Rowan, and he adored it, absolutely adored it. He had a magnificent time. Most of our run involved me going, "Leave it," as he'd search out squirrels. And we flew. I had my fastest ever park run with him of 20:36. And years later, last December, we had to stop doing park run, obviously, when they stopped the harnesses, and I switched to running with a stroller. But I woke up on the morning of the 20th. One of my bucket list things with Rowan was actually to do park run with him one last time. And I woke up on the morning of the 20th, and I just wasn't going to do it. It was really cold. And I just thought, something said to me, no, do it. And I did. And I took him out and I bundled him up into 2 coats and popped him in the stroller. And I didn't know that morning that it was actually going to be his last day. Didn't know it when we set out. And I remember chatting to a few runners, and I said, "Oh, he's got cancer. I don't know much longer we've got left." And it actually remains one of my most precious memories. And as we ran round, I actually asked one of the marshals if she'd film us. And, and literally hours after that, he declared himself. And, my little video of him doing park run, it's had over, I think, 110,000 views. And, it's such a special video. But he loved doing it. He absolutely loved doing park run. And so when the rules changed, though, and I couldn't take him, I started taking Evie in a stroller. And oh my goodness, it is hard running in a stroller. It was hard, but I made it fun. And I'd always get her out. Usually I started off getting her out a couple of times. So once in the middle for a little bit, and then once at the end. So she'd always finish. But then we stopped doing the middle bit, and I just got her out at the end. Because like I said, it was hard concrete, and we'd always do a sprint finish, always. And it was just so much fun. And she loved it. She loved all the people and everything. And when she died last year on the 28th of May, very suddenly under anaesthetic for an arthritis procedure, and it was awful. And I didn't know if I could go back to running, to be honest. And I'd entered the marathon, the Manchester Marathon, and I was like, "Oh, I've entered this bloody marathon. I've got to run." And park run was so tied up with memories of her because, out of all the dogs, she'd done the most. But I wanted to honour her, and so I went and I took Bambi, and every Saturday now I get out and I take Bambi in the stroller for Parkrun. It gets me out. It keeps me connected to running. It's massively helped me with my grief. I feel like I'm honouring her and Rowan. And Bambi loves it. I mean, he loves it. And, you know, so I've taken part in Parkrun in so many different ways. And so now obviously to the pushing the stroller. And I try to I always have to start off at the side because it's a bit overwhelming having, you know, I think the dog's having all those people there. But watching it in so many different ways, I have come to the conclusion that just because you can doesn't mean you should. And as someone who has got multiple dogs, there are some of my dogs I won't take to Parkrun. Inca will never do a Parkrun. I don't think Lily will ever do a Parkrun. I have taken Seren a couple of times, but she never really enjoyed it. She's enjoyed it more in the stroller. And we're incredibly lucky that Parkrun still allows dogs to participate on short handheld leads, but it is crowded, it's loud and intense. And, you know, as I said right at the beginning, when I first started with Treacle, I could see that it overwhelmed her. And I see so many dogs who are overwhelmed and they just look hyper vigilant. They're not enjoying it. And the owner's just not aware of them either. And the other week, there was a dog that was a bit chunky being pulled because the owner wanted to keep up with someone else. And the dog just wanted to run on the grass. And she was pulling this dog. And I just thought, this dog, you could see that this dog didn't want to run. This dog did not want to run, and it's being forced to run. And that isn't actually fun for your dog. If your dog's stressed, enforcing them through it isn't great. It's an ordeal. And it also is awful seeing people with wearing the wrong gear. Now, obviously, we're not allowed to run in the canicross equipment, which is a shame. I think Parkrun did miss an opportunity by giving people a chance to educate them safely. But I've seen people running on slip leads, choke chains, or even standard flat collars when the dog's pulling. And that is not good for their neck, okay? Because if the dog's pulling in a collar where it's running and you suddenly trip or accidentally yank the lead, the force applied to the neck is dangerous. It can cause glaucoma. I've got a dog who's got glaucoma. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And that, you know, but that's what you can do when you constrict the neck. And you can also cause severe thyroid problems as well, not to mention tracheal damage. And a few weeks ago, there was actually someone running with his dog on a slip lead and the dog was pulling. And I said to him, I'm really sorry, but this is not a good piece of equipment for you to run your dog in. It's pulling. And he was like, oh, well, I haven't got another lead. And I said, well, you shouldn't be running then. You know, if that is the only lead you've got, you shouldn't be running. And of course, it's not fair. You know, the Parkrun, you know, the run directors and the team, most of them don't know about the correct gear to run. I know a few run directors who are actually canicrosses and everything, but you know, it's important to run in the right gear if you are. So if your dog pulls, they must be in a non-restrictive, activity-driven Y-shaped harness. Now, not all Y-shaped harnesses are created equally, so you do need to get one that's actually designed for free motion of the forelimbs and shoulders so that their airway and the joints are protected, because it can also impact a Y-shaped harness that comes up too high can actually impact on their throat anyway. So you need to be aware. Now, obviously, if your dog runs very nicely at the side with no pull, you can run them in a collar. I would always use a harness anyway, but you do need to be aware, and you need to be aware of the ground, sort of the actual surface. Now, as I said, I stopped running Evelyn because the local course was on concrete and it was too much for her arthritic joints. But also we have to be aware as we move into warmer months, that those ground surfaces can get hot, and dogs don't have the same ability to regulate their temperature because they're hairy the same as we do. They don't sweat. If they pant, they lose heat through their pores. So we have to be a bit mindful. And again, it was very hot last Saturday. So my dogs cope very well with the heat. My new rescue, Lily, doesn't, but I'm sure she will by next year, because she will be used to the fact that I never go out for a walk at 6 a.m. in the morning. It took her a few, when she first came to live with me, she was, as soon as you get up in the morning, she's like, oh, giddy. And I'm like, no, we don't go out for a walk like that. We go out later. So, you know, she's got into the whole sort of thing now. But also space matters as well at Parkrun, because it's very, very crowded. And so I would also, when I was canicrossing, I would always get out front so I wouldn't trip people up. But you also need to be hyper aware of those around you. I have had freak accidents. So on one occasion, a squirrel darted out and I couldn't catch the lead. So he was on the lead, but the squirrel ran in front of runners who saw the squirrel and stopped. But one lady didn't see the squirrel, so she actually got tripped up by my dog. She was very gracious. She'd bumped into someone before with a stroller and said, oh, don't worry, I've tripped someone up before with the stroller. So she was very gracious. And then another time there was actually a police crime scene, and so part of the run was sealed off, and so we'd kept pretty much to the route apart from this little bit by the crime scene, and then someone tried to undertake us and nearly tripped over because they hadn't looked where the dog was going. And actually I do get a bit concerned with all these noise cancelling headphones as well, because you can't hear what's going on. You know, I was trying to run past someone the other day with a stroller and saying, excuse me, coming through on your right, but they couldn't hear me. And I just personally don't feel it's a good idea to be running when you're actually cancelling out noise. And there was actually in the news, it was a very sad story of a runner who got crossed a level crossing, got hit by a train because he had noise cancelling headphones on. And you know, it's just so unsafe. I think you need to be aware of your surroundings. But anyway, that's totally going off topic, isn't it? But anyway, I do recommend starting to the side of the throng rather than deep in the crowd. Give your dog space to see, breathe and move without being stepped on or startled, because it is very, you know, it can be very overwhelming for them. And you know, what I would say as well is I love Parkrun. I absolutely love it. I love running with my dogs. I can't see a time when I won't be running with a dog in a stroller now, because as a canicrosser, my dogs are not built to run comfortably at my side. They're not on a short handheld leash, and you know, that's fine. And so I choose to run with them in a stroller. But if you do run with your dog on a Saturday, please look down at them and see, are they happy? Are they safe? Do they have the right equipment on? You know, what kind of lead are you using? We really have a responsibility to be our own dog's advocates. And so we really want to make sure that Saturday morning is just as much joy for them as it is for us. So hopefully that's sort of given you a few ideas. As always open to comments, and let me know, do you parkrun with your dogs and what are your thoughts about it? Are you a canicrosser? Do you still go to parkrun? Did you stop when the band came in, or do you just run with your dog at the side? Let me know. And don't forget to subscribe and give me a 5-star review, please. And check out the show notes, because I will link to some other resources there as well. Stay safe, stay well. Bye.